Hello there, I'm Adam the Tank Engine, and this is another somewhat interesting installment of Rusty Mediocre Game Design Fun Time. So I've decided to go with the Super Metroidvania Month thing because, as you can see, it is very long, which is just my thing. It lasts for 3 months, and I've already wasted 10 days, and I haven't done anything. The goal is to simply further develop your Metroidvania game, whether it was submitted to a past jam or not. I started one a very long time ago and did not submit it, did not finish it. So we are going to further develop our Metroidvania game that I started. All right, so luckily we actually have our files from when we last worked on this, which was 2023. And I actually have this project still in here, and I'm still using that editor because why not? And let's see where we were because I do not remember. So you're a cat. Here's my cat. Very crude drawings here. Let's just run this and see what happens. I'm sure it's going to be incredible. Okay, you move back and forth, you jump. So it's a very slow game because you're just walking. Oh, yep, Poppy says something. The crow says something. Now I can go to the conductor. Yay! Conductor says something. Cool. It's exciting. And then I get that, which unlocks whatever that was. Oh my. Yeah, that's the problem with like hopping in these things later on. You have no idea what's happening. So I had a chance to look around in here to sort of rediscover what I did a couple years ago. And essentially from this placeholder cat image, there's a people tolerance here. It starts off at 0. So since it's 0, you cannot go past this guy because he has a tolerance required of 1. This, whatever this is, has a tolerance level of 2. So if you run the game, approach him, you kind of bounce back because the tolerance level does not, it just isn't there. Create these objects. The whole purpose of them is to just change the people tolerance to a new value. And then you get the thing, whoop, hello. Now the tolerance is set to 1, and since he requires 1, we can interact with him. Cat doesn't bounce back, but instead interacts. And it keeps doing that over and over. Different things have different tolerances. And that's the Metroidvania of it. So you notice I have these, like, obviously total placeholder things. This is a crow. I don't think I've even drawn the crow yet. This is a dog. It's going to be a sleeping dog. These are sample tiles that I got off of a tutorial. So I just did these things so I could kind of remember before I actually had the artwork done. I drew these on scratch paper. Basically made little flip books, some of the things we need. This is him waking up in the very beginning. Her, it's a girl cat. And so far, I've exported enough where I have these, they look rough. Using literally just the magic wand from Photoshop just to get the background gone, just so I had something to work with while I figure it out. Not sure if I'm going to do this in Photoshop or trace it all in Illustrator. If I use Illustrator, it's a lot easier to tweak the animations. I'll probably do that, and it's a lot cleaner too. Before I go any further, I have to figure out why in the world do I have a sleeping dog that requires you visiting a spider, for example. I did this over 2 years ago to begin with, and I lost my notes. I don't know where the story is. I don't know where my original drawings are. So I have no idea why this is. So essentially, I'm going to have to write a new story. That's what we're going to go with. For now, anyway. These things always change, but that's how we're going to try to fashion this thing. So I started some of the animation. I have 2 bulls, Poppy walking, Poppy air. That's used for whether you're jumping, whether to show this an animation clip, or walking. So Poppy walking, it's going to show this one. Now, the way I did that in the script was I used the X velocity. If you move to the left, the X velocity is in the negatives. If you move to the right, it's positives. And I check that. If it's greater than 0, you're moving. So I set that bool, and then I also make sure that the scale is basically a normal facing right scale. If it's less than 0, so that negative number, we're still walking, but then we're setting the scale to the negative, so she'll be facing to the left. Or I did notice that there is a way to flip the sprite, but this already works, so I'm just going to roll with it. All right, as you can see, I've updated the graphics a bit. I actually took these into Illustrator because I found that it's a lot easier to make minor adjustments or even add new animation frames rather than trying to redraw it in Photoshop or whatever. It does take a very long time, and it took me probably a week to update all these. As you can see, the rabbit is just 2 frames. There's a jumping and there's a sitting. The spider, again, 2 frames, just kind of twitches his legs. The crow, well, there's more than 2 frames, but I literally had one drawing for the crow, and I just created new frames in Illustrator that way. And then here's the dog. Again, I had one drawing of this dog, and I ended up just manipulating the curves, and I created all these frames just in Illustrator after the fact, and it took a while, but I think it was worth it. And there you see the dog wakes up, he's afraid of the cat, and he just shivers for the rest of the time. All right, so instead of tackling the backgrounds, I actually got a little sidetracked, and my daughter wanted me to add enemies because she didn't want to wander around so much, so I did. There's a grasshopper, which, as you can see, literally just copied what the bunny does, just copied the code. I also added a little scratching. That just creates an object in front of you that disappears after a second. And if that object connects with any enemies, they die, which is great. So we'll just scratch, and there he goes. And I actually have a spawner so they kind of come back. And if you touch it, you get hurt. And that's pretty much it. I have one that jumps up and down, one that goes back and forth, and I'll have like a fly that flies back and forth that you kind of have to avoid unless you're in a perfect spot. I did also add some more animation, so if you are falling down, you're kind of going down. So if you go off of here, instead of pointing upwards, you point down, which makes more sense. Especially if you see cats jump off things, they don't land on their back feet first. So I spent a little bit of time in Illustrator trying to make some tiles, and it was painful. It took forever. Like, this was several hours of work. It doesn't even look that great. This one looks okay. This doesn't look very good at all. I'm much better with Photoshop, so I'm just going to do the rest in this. Maybe I'll dig out my tablet and just hand draw everything instead of having it so mechanical. Yeah, this is Photoshop. I took a drawing pad and did these tiles in a fraction of the time. I even got some of the city stuff I didn't think I had time for. Here's some of my notes of the things I haven't done yet. But I have 7 days to turn this thing in, so I might not get to that. We'll see. And now we can finally find out what it looks like in game. And the final thing to do is to place some of these enemies all around the map so you have something to do. They're a little buggy, no pun intended. But I got to turn this thing in, so here's the final product. Okay, so we got this submitted with about 5 minutes to go, so I had to kind of cut it close and wanted to fix things that didn't have a chance to. Kept running into issues in the 11th hour, which was just frustrating. Let's take a look. Yep, and here it is. Only 5 people did this, which is fine. Maybe I'll get fourth place. We'll see. Now that the jam is over, we're going to see how we did. Okay, yeah, that was a good one. Ooh, number 2. All right, 2 out of 5. It's kind of in the middle, sort of what I expected. With only 5 entries, it was either going to be the lower half or the upper half. So there you have it, 2 out of 5. Not too bad. Well, if you stayed until the end, hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you're inspired, even if it's to look at my thing and say, oh man, I could do better. So I hope you enjoyed yourself, and thanks for watching.